I'm a big proponent of slow travel, to really take your time to get to know the people, the culture, to getting to know the good and the bad, and just not rush trying to see all the sights, but really see and live what ordinary life is in those countries. In the past 10 years, I have lived in 6 different countries trying to explore different ways of life, learning about people's perspectives and experiences. It has been an amazing way to learn not just about others, but also about myself and what I value and what kind of life I want to live. And I feel incredibly blessed that I had these opportunities to explore. It's definitely not always been good. I've had many moments of loneliness, of being tired of packing, unpacking, building, and taking down my life time and time again, of having to start all over. But looking back at it all, I wouldn't change a thing because it's all those ups and downs which brought me to where I am right now. And I have a gut feeling that this move will be the last before making the big move to a forever home, so I think my time in Kosovo will be particularly special. So what better way to honor this than with a big reading list of all the authors and books written about Kosovo and the Western Balkans region in general that I want to read during my time here. There is so much history and so many talented authors in this region that I feel like it deserves its own dedicated list. So here are some authors and books that I would like to read. Some classics, some contemporary books. I tried to get authors from some different countries in the region, although I did not yet manage to find one for each country. And so I thought I would share this list because maybe you are also interested in reading more books about this region of the world, or maybe you have some recommendations for me. Either way, do let me know in the comments below. When talking about authors of the Western Balkans, I have to start with Ismail Kadare, who is by far the most recommended author here. Whoever I have asked for book recommendations from the Balkans has mentioned this author. He is Albania's most famous author who writes mostly historical fiction. I'm not a huge fan of this genre, but I actually already read one of his short story collections and did really enjoy his writing. Among his novels, Broken April sounds the most interesting one to me. The blurb reads, "From the moment that George's brother is killed by a neighbor, his own life is forfeit. For the Code of Kanun requires George to kill his brother's murderer and then in turn be hunted down. After shooting his brother's killer, young Georg is entitled to 30 days grace, not enough to see out the month of April. Then a visiting honeymoon couple cross the path of the fugitive. The bride's heart goes out to Georg, and even these civilized strangers from the city risk becoming embroiled in the fatal mechanism of vendetta." I thought this one was particularly interesting because it is said to give some insight on the Kanun, which is a set of traditional customary laws in Albania that are held up by Albanian tribes. And I don't really know much about this at all, so it sounds really interesting. I added one more classic author. Bosnia and Herzegovina also has a really famous author who I didn't know before, Ivo Andrić, who actually won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1961 for his book The Bridge on the Drina, the first book in a trilogy. I think that this series is the only one of his works that is available in English, so I will try to get my hands on a copy. The series is set from the late 16th century to the beginning of World War I and is said to be really an engaging account of how people in Bosnia and Herzegovina were affected by the historical events during that time. The other books on my list are more contemporary reads. First, I have Stork Mountain by Miroslav Penkov. Stork Mountain tells the story of a young Bulgarian immigrant who, in an attempt to escape his mediocre life in America, returns to the country of his birth. Retracing the steps of his estranged grandfather, a man who suddenly and inexplicably cut off all contact with the family 3 years prior, the boy finds himself on the border of Bulgaria and Turkey, a stone's throw away from Greece, high up in the Stranje Mountains. It is a place of pagan mysteries and black storks nesting in giant oaks, a place where every spring, possessed by Christian saints, men and women dance barefoot across live coals in search of rebirth. Here in the mountains, the boy reunites with his grandfather. Here in the mountains, he falls in love with an unobtainable Muslim girl. Old ghosts come back to life and forgotten conflicts in the name of faith and doctrine blaze anew. There is so much in that description that makes me want to read that book, and so I really hope I can find myself a copy. Next on my list is Café Europa, Life After Communism by Slavenka Drakulic. According to Publishers Weekly, Croatian journalist, novelist, and essayist Slavenka Drakulic notes that Eastern Europeans are so anxious to become like their Western counterparts that every city and town has a Café Europa that is a pale imitation of similar establishments in cities like Paris and Rome. She presents here a collection of essays that explore life in various Eastern European countries since the fall of communism. As a citizen of Croatia, formerly part of Yugoslavia, living now in Vienna with her Swedish husband, she writes knowingly as a survivor of a communist regime, as one who realizes that pitfalls still lie ahead for nations emerging from the Soviet yoke. The final 3 books on my list are ones that I already picked up during some of my travels because I'd been wanting to read more about these countries, and I also just love buying books as souvenirs. So we have The Walnut Mansion by Miljenko Jerkovic, who is more similar to the earlier books in this list in that it really focuses on history. The book is set in Yugoslavia in the 20th century and goes through the decline of Austro-Hungarian and Ottoman empires in the 2 world wars, the fall of communism, the fall of Yugoslavia, and all the horrors that came with these events. And the story is told through a family's tale throughout these 5 generations, which sounds like it would be a very moving novel. Then we have a contemporary novel called Nowhere Man by Alexander Hemon. I picked this up in Sarajevo on a whim because it caught my eye and the reviews on the back were really positive. I know nothing about this book. The description is very cryptic, but I'm very curious to read it. The final book I picked up in Finland, in the Finnish books section of the store, and saw the Albanian flag, so I was intrigued. The author of Crossing is a Kosovo-born Finnish author called Paitim Statovic, and the story follows 2 friends as they flee their homeland of Albania, and we follow their journey across different cities and countries looking for their identity, looking for acceptance. It seemed like a really wholesome, emotional book, so right up my alley. So these are the books on my Western Balkans reading list for now. I'm sure I will come across many more I want to read, and will definitely share those with you as well. I hope that maybe you found some interesting books for you to read, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day.